welcome to the Happy Me Project podcast, the space where self-development doesn't have to be fancy and we take the bullshit out of positive mindset. My name is Holly Matthews and I am a former TV actress, I'm a self-development coach and I am the founder of the Happy Me Project. Today on the show we are talking about the lies that we tell ourselves. So when I talk about the lies that we tell ourselves, I'm largely talking about lies that we tell ourselves that are well-intentioned. So not the limiting beliefs that we might have in our minds and that kind of thing necessarily, more the kind of toxic positivity we do that we get taught or we think is the right thing to do and the right thing that is going to make us feel better, but actually there would be other things that we could do that could do that. So the first one is everything happens for a reason. Now I will hold my hands up and I will say there's absolutely that I definitely have said this in the past. I definitely have said this for sure. Everything happens for a reason somehow feels more comfortable than there was no sense in it. That was my phone going off. There was no sense in it. There was no logic. It was completely unfair. Or worse still, everything happens for a reason, and sometimes that reason is that we made a mistake. That's hard, right? That's hard. That's a harder truth than everything happens for a reason in the positive sense that it is often said. Everything happens for a reason. You had a breakup. Everything happens for a reason. And I understand why we do it. I understand the kind of the positivity that we grasp at when we say those things. And always, and I should put this caveat in all of my podcast episodes ever, but we should, whatever I'm saying, if this still feels good to you, if saying everything happens for a reason still feels good, then completely disregard what I'm saying because it feels good. But what I need us to be careful of, what I would love it if we were careful of, is just the stories, the language, the things that we say to ourselves that have become habit that might not be really serving us in the long term. But always, if you think it feels good and it feels good to you, you can choose to completely disregard everything I'm saying because it's your life, always, right? But everything happens for a reason kind of sits us in a space of not being in control of what we do next, or not taking responsibility perhaps for the lessons that we might need to learn. I think sometimes we need to just look at the whole picture. Were there lessons for us to learn from this situation? And sometimes the lesson isn't something that we need to learn, it's just how we can deal with it going forward, and there might not be huge lessons for us to reflect on. Sometimes there will be, you know what, I repeated a pattern that I knew was happening and I avoided all the red flags, or I didn't do the thing. We can look back and we can reflect. If everything happens for a reason is stopping you doing a little audit on your life and a little check-in with yourself, then it ceases to be something positive. Even if it's a stick and plaster in the moment, it doesn't long term serve any purpose. It just gets you through that bit, which you could arguably say is okay. But I always want us to make sure that we're not just reverting to what makes us feel comfortable in the short term, always, as opposed to looking at the bigger picture and going, is this story helpful to me or not? That should always be the question that we are asking ourselves. The next thing that we say to ourselves, I'm going to just check my whiteboard because I forgot what it is. Right, no, this is huge. Like, this is the biggest one, I think. This lie that we tell ourselves is, I'm fine. I'm fine. How does that even make you feel when you hear me say I'm fine? Because fine to me has become something that it doesn't feel like fine ever, like it never does now. And I rarely say I'm fine, because I'm fine, and you guys can say what you think in the comments or wherever you are coming from. You can message me on social media, but I'm fine to me just feels like, it always feels like shrouded in something else going on under the surface. Like, it doesn't ever feel like I'm genuinely fine. Because fine, I mean, it's such a wet word, isn't it? I mean, I'm fine. Unless you're like, she's fine, in a different sense of it. He's fine. Like, I think that's different, of course. But the I'm fine, to me, feels like it's hiding a multitude of things going on under the surface. So when you hear yourself saying I'm fine, I want you to see that as not a red flag, but like just a little warning, a little check in with yourself. Check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I really fine? And if you're not fine and you're saying it, ask yourself whether you need to, why am I not sharing with this person? Or why do I feel that I have to hide my truest feelings? And it doesn't mean that you then offload on every person that asks if you're okay. I appreciate it might be the postman saying, hey, how are you doing? I'm fine. And it's pure habit. But I just want us to always keep a check of that language, because it could be that instead of saying I'm fine, actually when you do that momentary check-in with yourself, you're more than fine. You're actually brilliant. In which case, say, do you know what? I feel brilliant today. I feel absolutely excellent. And let that be okay as well, because we get so used to it just being like a kind of muted version of humanity. And if you feel utterly rubbish and you're saying I'm fine, again, I would probably still look for other language. If you're feeling utterly rubbish, you could say I'm finding it really hard today, and being more specific. Or again, I don't want us to then have like extreme language the other way, because that can then shape the reality for you. But there's something nice in being really clear on what it is that you are actually feeling. And by you being able to specify that, rather than I'm fine, this banal in between kind of everybody feels the sort of, are they fine though? They just said they were fine. I don't think they're fine, and everyone feels uncomfortable. You haven't articulated to yourself how you're feeling. Let's be more specific. Are you brilliant? Are you bored? Are you I couldn't even think of any other description words in the world right now, which is interesting, because I was reading about a study the other day where it said that we only really can describe our emotions in like there's not very, I can't speak today at all. There's not very many emotions. Oh God, guys, seriously, my words, and I'm not even going to edit this out, because you need to see the struggle to find the words, because I know that you guys might do this as well. My point is, they did a study, the people, I don't even know who they are because I've forgotten, but I was reading about a study where they asked a certain number of people, and it didn't matter how many, if they asked 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 10 people, they could only ever articulate a really small number of emotions. And there's so many different emotions that we feel as human beings, but we have quite a limited, very clearly in this episode of the podcast, a limited vocabulary when it comes to our emotions. I'd like us to expand it. No more I'm fine, just how else can we describe our emotions in a positive way for us, in a way that is useful to us shaping a good story for ourselves. But I'm fine, I think it's a lie we tell ourselves when we don't want to admit we feel brilliant, or we don't want to admit we feel bad. Let's chuck I'm fine in the bin. My last one is a lie that we tell ourselves is I'll be happy when. Yeah, have you ever heard yourself saying that? I'll be happy when I'm on holiday. I'll be happy when I find love. I'll be happy when I have a baby. I'll be happy when I get that job, when I hit that milestone, when I finish that course. That's when I'll be happy. And it's an absolute lie. It's a lie, because we get to decide whenever. I'm not saying it's easy. Never think when I say happiness is a choice that because I know that's triggering, I never think I mean that's an easy choice. But when we are always looking into the future to when I hit this milestone, I'll be happy. I'm telling you now, you will hit that milestone and it will feel empty, or it won't feel enough, or you'll be disappointed that you didn't feel all of the feels and all of the amazingness when you hit that thing. Even if you have a momentary high, if we don't work on our minds from a different space of finding joy in the everyday and in right now, then we'll be forever chasing that I'll be happy when. It will never be enough. That doesn't mean we can't have those moments of, peppered full of joy, but seek also in the moments now, wherever you are at right now. I want you to think about, in this moment, not the future moment, in this moment, where's the joy? In this moment, where's the momentary happiness. If it's tough right now, where's the momentary moment of joy? Whatever it is, look around you. What can you see? What does your eye like the look of in the room that you are in, or the space that you were in outside? What do you like the smell of, or the feel of, or what conversation did you enjoy? What program, what music did you listen to that you loved? What did you drink? I want you to seek out I just whacked myself, for those that are watching or listening on the podcast, I just whacked myself in the chin. So you can watch that on YouTube. My hands flee about so much that I often like whack myself in the face, which is fun. But find the joy, guys, and that might seem really flippant when you're in, some of you will be in the midst of really tough stuff right now, but you won't be any more happy in the distant fantasy future. You won't. We have to do the work now when it's harder to do the work. And then when you do hit that joy, maybe you can be more mindfully in that moment and really enjoying it. But if it's this like future thing, and I lived in that space so much, especially when I was an actor. It was always, when I get that part, when I get that thing, when I hit that milestone, when I'm picking up my Oscar in Hollywood, then I'll be happy. Then I'll allow myself, right? That's the other thing. I'll allow myself happiness then, because I'll have done the stuff. How about we just decide to look for it now? And then when we hit those lovely, gorgeous, sexy milestones along the way, we can really enjoy them, but they're not the only thing, because otherwise the minute they stop, the minute we've moved on from it, the minute that the novelty has worn off, we'll be flat back down to earth, and that's not much fun for us. I'm going to end this podcast here because I'm trying to shorten some of the podcasts so we can have more of them. We can have more I don't know, why aren't my words working today? I don't know, but they're not. And what a way to end a podcast. So we look out for the lies that you tell yourself, and make sure that the stories that you are telling yourself are serving you. If they are not, you get to change them. That is the wonderful thing about doing personal development, self-development, self-help, all of that stuff. That's the wonderful thing about being you. You get to change it, my friend. I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast or on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe wherever you are. Follow, like, thumb, share far and wide if you've enjoyed it, and comment and let me know that you have been here, because I want to hear all about you. I will speak to you all very soon.